Good afternoon, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com, here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for Tuesday, September 6th, 2016. Hey, guess what? The last advisory has been written for Hermine. No longer a tropical storm, post-tropical, whatever. It's just a remnant low sitting out here. A little bit of showers and maybe occasional gusty winds over on this west side of the center of circulation. The eastern side is pretty flat, but the west side, yeah, maybe a few gusty winds in there, but probably won't see much reaching the shore. The surf will stay high from time to time, especially in the high tide cycles, but eventually this system will come back a little bit more and then finally head out, maybe crossing the islands here in eastern Cape Cod, but no big deal overall compared to what it could have been. A major pain in the neck for forecasting all the way from when it was 99L. It just goes to show you that these aren't easy sometimes, but fortunately, it did not come out and then come back towards Jersey and then take off with the potential for very big flooding concerns here. I know it ruined quite a few people's Jersey Shore and maybe even elsewhere up and down the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast Labor Day vacation plans, but you know, what do you want? Do you want it to just come in and wreck everything so that it makes the cancellations better? I know that the best solution, of course, is to have a perfect forecast, but that's not the world we live in. It's just hard to do sometimes. So at least in this situation, it's beach erosion, some high tide flooding problems in very low-lying areas, but that's about it, as opposed to the worst-case scenario, which at one point looked like record flooding here in parts of New Jersey, Cape May, and Atlantic City. Did not come to pass, and for that we should be very grateful. Looking at the water temperature anomalies, cooled off here because of Hermine. Still cooling in the Pacific, almost to La Nina levels over here. Positive anomalies through most of the Gulf, Caribbean, and the main development region, as well as in the subtropics. And today being September the 6th, yesterday is when the map came out here, we're only halfway to the through the hurricane season. The peak is coming up on September 10th, the climatological peak. So we still have more than half to go. Just keep that in mind. It's not over yet. And with all that warm water, there's still plenty of fuel. Water temperatures did cool here off the mid-Atlantic states due to the interaction between Hermine and the ocean state itself. The 26-degree isotherm Celsius, now pretty far to the south. It did get all the way up here close to New York and New Jersey, but it has really been knocked down, so some heat taken out of that area, which is good news for the most part, at least hurricane-wise. Gulf of Mexico still pretty warm, especially west of about 88 degrees longitude over here towards the western Gulf Coast. This region still 30 Celsius and above in some areas. Meanwhile, the Northeast Gulf cooled just a little bit, again due to the upwelling and mixing caused by Hermine. What's happening out there today? Well, this is what was 92L, but this has pretty much been written off as well. This didn't even get a mention on the outlook that I saw. I'll go check, but I didn't see it in there. Interesting little swirl and naked tropical wave, if you will. And then another system coming off Africa now that we'll take a look at. First, though, in the Pacific, Hurricane Norton made landfall on the southwest part of the Baja Peninsula. Its remnant moisture as it dies off will meet a pretty quick death over the mountains and rugged, dry terrain of northwest Mexico, but it could bring some heavier showers and thunderstorms to Arizona after it crosses the Baja here, weakening as it does so. Satellite image shows the western semicircle here kind of eroding away, the eastern side staying fairly vigorous, and all this moisture will stream northward towards, as I said, northwest Mexico and into Arizona, so be on the lookout for that. So again, the tropical weather outlook really not showing anything with that little swirly down here. However, the system coming off Africa now has a high chance of development, though the GFS really doesn't do much with it. It's kind of off and on. So I guess that, and it's a 70% chance, we can look here and see that. High chance of development through 5 days, 70%. So we'll see. I have my doubts. It's just the Atlantic's been very unpredictable and negative overall. If we look at the satellite shot of the region with the Saharan air layer imposed on it, or I guess you would say superimposed, added to, whatever. Somewhat dry air here accompanying this tropical wave, but it's at a fairly low latitude. And even if it does develop, it'll more than likely take a track towards the central Atlantic where there's a fairly common semi-permanent weakness out there. Sometimes the subtropical ridge will be intact all the way across, and these things can travel south for a while. But I think this will have a pretty big hole in it out here for this to escape. We'll wait and see. You never say never, right? Look at Hermine. We thought that was going to become the storm of the last several years, and it was certainly impactful, but it was more of a pain in the neck than anything else. The MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation, which is a period of favorability, generally speaking. GFS and its ensemble members here indicating somewhat favorable MJO conditions moving through the mid to latter part of the month, almost to the last third of the month. But the European ECMWF and its ensemble members not really seeing that, keeping it basically in what we call the null phase, where there's hardly any MJO activity anywhere. So we'll see. It could be an interesting or a very boring second half to the season. I don't know the answer, and that's what this update is about, is to just check things out, look beyond the 3 to 5 day time frame and try to take a guess. But at least in the near term, it doesn't look like anything coming out to bother us, so that's good news there. We all need a break after Hermine. Certainly those of us that are really into this, tracking and keeping up with stuff, that was a real grinder, taking 19 days or so. Craziness. All right, that's it from me. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com and, of course, for Hurricane Pro in HD. And I will talk to you, if nothing develops, next Monday.